it's gonna be more fun. So, capital stack. Here's the most basic of things. And I need to stress one thing too. These concepts are so basic, yet they also take years to kind of process and understand it. It's really a bizarre thing. I'm not sure why people in general don't grasp these things more quickly, but it does get confusing. So, and even the concept, so here's how I draw the capital stack. And this would be my debt and my equity. And not to confuse people, I've always drawn it this way. The CMBS world, for whatever reason, and I'm going to erase it, they do the debt up here, and they do the equity down here. So everyone's doing a little bit different, and I don't think one way is right or wrong. I think in CMBS world that this is absolutely the right way. They tranche up their CMBS pieces. But anyway, I just wanted to mention, if you see something that's upside down to this, there's no rhyme or reason. Now, we went to debt, right? What does debt mean? We mentioned all those different things. So really, when I draw this line at, here's the entire deal. Let's call this a $10 million deal to make it safe. General, easy way to break this thing down would be $7 million of debt, which is 70% loan to value. LTV, you'll see loan to value. You might also see LTC, which is loan to cost. But essentially, there's a guy out there that says, okay, if you're buying this thing for $10 million, I'll give you 7. And that's going to be your debt piece. Now, what does that debt piece mean? I mean, as we talked about before, there's bridge, which can be from banks. Debt funds is a term that you'll hear. Private funds that we talked about as well. And then we'll go to permanent, we talked about, which is CMBS. And life insurance, banks. Life insurance, banks. We also got this funky thing called agencies. That is for multifamily, which is Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, HUD. Those are basically permanent loans. And then you got, as we talked about before, I got construction and construction and hard money. All of these pieces of debt fit different situations that we talked about before. Bridge is going to be something that needs a little turnaround story, and it's a value add play. And they will price, and so bridge is riskier than permanent. So bridge is going to be more expensive generally than a permanent loan would be. I mean, if you're going to be a lender, would you rather put your money in a building that's fully occupied and leased, or the building that's 70% occupied and has a bunch of lease roll or whatever? So this is going to be, and of course construction can at times be even more risky.
So surely, and I'm not familiar with this, but there's structures in which a bridge and perm are combined. Like for instance, in residential, you have like an A, B, and C loan.
Yes.
So do groups combine bridge and permanent? Like if you're getting it from the same bank?
A little bit. They try. It's less prevalent in the commercial world. There's banks do like little mini perm, as they would call it.
Okay.
More than anything, what they do, a lot of permanent guys are providing bridge loans to get at the permanent later. They recognize it's like, hey, that's a way for us. This world got so competitive and very, what's the word I'm looking for?
So they won't combine it, but they get what, like a first right of refusal? To
kind of. Well, they make it,
or?
they financially incentivize you to use them on this deal. So this world became really commoditized. So pricing CMBS world, they're just on top of each other. And so one of the distinctions that they're trying to make is, hey, if you're not quite ready for this permanent, because maybe you're 80% occupied, and you really want to do this when you're 90% occupied, we'll give you a bridge facility until you get there. Bridge facilities often have points. So points mean like expenses that are charged, and a lot of them have expenses when you pay off the loan, and they'll say, but if you refi the permanent with us, we'll waive the
points.
Yeah, we'll waive the point on the back end. So these are super vague numbers, but call this 3 to 6%. The debt funds might be 4 to 7%. the private is gonna be 7 to 9%. CMBS, I wrote down 4 to 6. Life insurance 3 to 5, 3 to 5, 3 to 5, so 3 to 5 all the way down the board here. Because remember, these are permanent loans. So if it's permanent, I can afford to give a much lower rate. Constructions are gonna vary. This could be 3 to 6 maybe. 3 is given to, because construction's its own world, because then you gotta put your balance, more times than not, here's my balance sheet, I'm personally guarantee this thing, if everything goes to bed, everything goes to shit, my house, my wife, everything is on the line right here. That's why these guys put a lot on the line, and that's why this pricing can be a little bit lower. And then this hard money, you're now getting into, kind of your 10% plus points. And that's what we were talking about earlier. This gets really expensive. Now, the whole thing about this debt is that we analyze is, first of all, given the type of deal, what is the type of debt that should go with that type of deal? And then secondly, how is that priced given the amount of leverage that they're giving me? So you can imagine if you're giving me leverage to here and it's costing me 6, but someone else is coming to here and it's costing me 6. Well,
Yeah.
there's a lot of other aspects to consider, but from a purely economical standpoint, that's a better deal. But then what happens if this guy's at 6 here and this guy's a little bit higher leverage, but he's 6 1/4? How do you offset the difference? It's a lot of the work that we do. So here here he gave me 6.5 million at 6%, but that guy gave me 7 million at 6.25%. So much of debt, as you look at this, is really understanding price versus leverage point and comparing the two to determine how that pricing shakes out. Now, to get into equity, so now we go to this component, and I know we're going, what's the time now? 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
Want to be cognizant of getting everyone out of here. And we'll kind of do a wrap up on this next time. But this is where things get really intriguing. Because then the equity, if this is $3 million, I would guess that most of you think that the developer then comes in, you developers may be smarter, he comes in with $3 million. And that's not the case at all. This guy,
300 grand.
What, 300 grand? Yeah, so
Yeah.
let me give you some quick.
10% of that 3 million.
So there you go. See,
Yeah.
that's the traditional, the old school structure, and this is going to show how things are changing. And it's probably a good time, that's a good segue to wrap up. We laugh because back in the day, the generation before me that built out Newport Beach, the way they did deals was, I'll put zero money in. You give me $3 million, I'll do all the work, and then I'll give you an 8% preferred return, and we'll get into that next time. And then we're going to split things 50-50. So what the developer was saying is, you give me $3 million, I'll go do all the work, and then I'll give you your money and an 8% preferred return back, and then once you get your 8%, then we split things 50-50. And we joke
When
that's,
it comes back.
what's that?
When it comes back.
When it comes back.
Yeah.
And we joke that that's the old school. And sometimes we'll see guys come to us like, yeah, I'm used to getting 8% 50-50. I'm like, well, no. If you can get that, go for it. But what we're talking about in the institutional world, you guys mentioned it. It is the traditional structure. And where this gets really intriguing is there's all sorts of ways you could structure this thing. But would be a 90-10, and this, a good terminology for you would be 10% co-invest. That, if you come away with anything from today, come away with that term right there, co-invest. And what they're saying is, you, Mr. Money Guy, you put up 2.7 million, I'll put up 300,000, and then we're going to split this deal up. We'll have some sort of a pref, maybe it's a 10% preferred return, and then as you'll see, rather than going from 50-50, not only does he have to put money in, and then a higher pref, but then maybe we go 70-30 split. So when the money comes back, you take 70%, I'll take 30% until I mean, this is where it can be sliced a number of different ways. Let's say it till we get to a 16. And then once everyone gets a 16, then I'll give you a bigger percentage. And let's say we go to 60-40. Now, these are another good terminology to leave you guys on. Have you guys heard the term promote? Super important to understand. You brokers haven't heard that before, have you? Okay, promote that's said day in, day out in the capital world and the sponsor world. And that is how much this guy got a 50% promote. He didn't put any money in, but he got 50% of the deal. So that's, and there's more complicated ways of looking, but that's a 50% promote. It's also, you guys may know the term carried interest. That's a big term in hedge funds and private equity funds. Have you guys not heard that before? Write that down. Carried interest is a term that has a lot of legal problems right now, and we won't get into that as far as how carried interest is characterized from a tax perspective, but that is the money that you make above and beyond what the money you put in. So there was one more term I was thinking about. Promote.
IRR hurdles as well, you can answer that.
What's that?
IRR hurdles.
That's what this was.
Yeah.
That was a
Oh, yeah.
16%.
16%,
Yeah. So what this hurdle was, thank you for clarifying that, is IRR, internal rate of return. And how comfortable are you guys with IRR, just so I know going in next time? Is that a term that you guys are comfortable with, or no? Okay.
Comfortable with it. I don't know how to calculate it though.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, but you know generally kind of what it is?
Yeah.
Okay, that's helpful. A lot of it has come in trying to gauge where you guys are at. But so we'll get to this. So just to reiterate, 90-10, I had 10% co-invest. Another good term to understand is pari passu. Maybe that was the term I was thinking about. Pari passu is a good capital. If you mention that, you'll sound really smart to people. And you say, oh, is this pari passu? Like, oh, shit, you know what you're talking about. That means that your money is as green as my money. So no one is ahead of anybody as far as getting money back. So for every dollar that comes in, if we're pari passu, you get 90 cents and I get 10 cents. Until such point, we've gotten to this, our money back and our 10% preferred return or an IRR. Okay, 10% IRR. And then, as someone mentioned the term, then you go into what's called a waterfall structure, which is really important to understand, which starts giving out promotes based on these waterfall hurdles. And in this case, what we're saying, I'm now getting 30% of the deals. I mean, this is a 20% promote. And this can be calculated in a more complex way, but really simplistically, I put 10% of the money in, I'm getting 30% of the deal, I'm getting a 20% promote, because I'm getting paid more than the money I put in there. And then, and then you get that money, let's go 70-30, so every dollar comes in, I get 70, you get 30, and then, once I get to whatever predetermined negotiation, in this case, the 16 IRR, then I get another promote, so now I'm getting a 30% promote, and all money coming in is split 60-40. So you can see the difference between 50-50 on an 8 pref and now the more institutional world of kind of a 20% promote as you're out of the box, kind of a promote into this waterfall event. And then I'll leave you where I think things are getting really tricky is now, and if we had a fund, we would probably get away from pari passu. And we would say, make this more, and this is called joint venture equity. Joint venture equity, also known as JV equity. Probably heard that term before. But then we didn't have time to get into it. But there's a whole world called preferred equity and mezzanine, which means that, hey, no, we're not pari passu, we're not getting dollars out equal. I'm gonna get all my money, the money guy is saying, I'm gonna get all my money out and I'm gonna get my return to some level, an 8 or a 10. And then once I get that, then I'll share some to you, the developer. And then maybe you get all your money back at 8 or 10 and we'll do some kind of waterfall way. But we're seeing a lot of money, again, because of where we are in the cycle probably, and also the need for lower, you can accept a lower yield to say, I don't need to take this pari passu risk. I would rather be in front of the guy. So, whereas here, when you see this is equal, then you're saying, no, we're not equal. I'll give you a bunch of money, but guess what? I'm ahead of you in the capital stack. And we all got to pay the debt, Then once we pay the debt, I'm gonna take everything, and then once we have this waterfall, then you can kind of take the rest. And for that, in exchange for a preferred equity deal, where here the sponsor's only getting 40% of the deal, in a good case scenario, here you might do preferred equity and say, oh, hey sponsor, I'll give you 80% of the deal. You have the lion's share of the upside because you're exchanging priority of payment to me. I'm in a safer position, hence more risk for you, the sponsor. But for that risk, I'll dangle a carrot out in front of you and I'll give you a much bigger piece of the upside if you really hit out of the park. Any questions? Hey, want to say hi to all these people?
Yeah.
It's Tom Farrell.
Still awake?
Yeah.
Tom Farrell's probably done this a few times.
Bring you some coffee.
Tom worked at B of A for 25 years and now on the
Still here to talk about it?
now on the entrepreneurial side of capital advisory.
It's more exciting. Don't have to deal with bank regulators and risk ratings.
I was telling him about how Chase now you have to shut your computer every time you go take a leak.
Yeah. Yeah, I missed that compliance training, or the securities training, or
Yeah.
all the other training that keeps you back from doing your job. All right, carry on, Professor.
Yep, we're done. We're wrapping it up. Time to go.
Dr. Kidder.
Yep. All righty.
When's happy hour start?
Right now, well, actually, thank you for reminding me because I do think maybe next time when we don't have guests, the first time I was thinking it might be a little of a crazy opening, but I think we throw some beers on the table and
Just
whoever
make sure they Uber home.
whoever wants to. Yeah, exactly. That's a good point, man. Yeah, maybe that is some liability maybe we don't want. But seriously, I think maybe next time we'd limit our beer consumption if anyone's interested and make the next event a little bit more fun. But hey, that's it for number one.
Yeah.
Hopefully that was of some value.
Thank you.
And I think from here it's just going to get we're going to get deeper and deeper. I mean, this is just scratching the surface as far as capital and returns, and then we'll get into, as I mentioned, what are the metrics that these guys want to look at? What are the metrics that these guys want to look at? We haven't gotten into the whole preferred equity strategy, and then with that, take some real deals and kind of understand how we underwrite them and look at them.
Nice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, nice meeting all you guys. Any questions while everyone's around?
What's these more, loan to value or loan to cost?
Different scenarios, like a bridge or a construction loan will look more at loan to cost
Sure.
because you have cost above and beyond just buying the building.
Yeah,
But a permanent loan, because you're just buying a building, you're not putting a bunch of money back into it, they would more look at LTV.
what determines value?
Well, the acquisition price.
That's the deemed value.
Yeah, exactly. Now,
Yeah.
it does get kind of crazy.
Doesn't somebody try to stretch that though, if they option something for 2 years? Or is that when you start getting into funny business?
Yeah, you're getting funny because now I'm thinking about just buying a building. Like if I go to buy this building, it's like, hey, and the other thing that would constitute value is what the appraisal says, right? The appraisal, debt guy has lots of different metrics that he looks at. Remember, the equity guy could almost care less about the
Yeah.
appraisal.
Yeah.
The debt guy is going to say, okay, you bought it for 20 million. Does the appraisal say it's 20 million? The appraisal may come back and say 18. You overpaid for it. So now I'm gonna base all my underwriting off of
Well, I
18.
guess my question's on the other side. What the appraisal says we're 22,
What do you think?
20.
They don't give you that exactly. They want to play it both ways. They want to eat have
Yeah.
a cake and eat it too.